When you look at our raw numbers, whether it be Air Force, Navy, Army, and even Army Reserve, do we have enough, numbers there? Have we recruited well enough to keep what should be a fighting force that if we did come under some sort of aggressive attack, that we could defend ourselves properly?
Well, remember that future warfare is not like war battles of the past where it was sort of massed soldiers fighting each other. If you look at what the US has just announced in the last few days, they've announced a program called Replicator, where they're going to mass produce thousands of autonomous systems over the next 18 to 24 months to match what the Chinese are doing. Now, that timeline is very significant because clearly they realize that time is not on their side, and they realize that mass is important. But what they're not doing is investing in huge numbers of people. What they're investing in is technology and combat power. And I think that's what the Australian Defence Force needs to do. They need to invest in these strike systems, autonomous systems, defensive capabilities, rather than trying to recreate the battles of the past.
Just on the Americans, we read today that they are going to give some grants and loans to Taiwan so they can boost their defensive capability. That's not going to make the Chinese very happy, Malcolm, is it?
Well, to be honest, both the United States and Australia shape its defence policy not to please the Chinese. We shape it to protect our own interests. And that interest has to be supporting Taiwan, giving it the sorts of capabilities it needs to be able to deter Chinese aggression. And if that deterrence fails, then to be able to defend. That $80 million transfer from the US is not a huge amount. There needs to be a lot more sent to Taiwan. And I think the key point I would make here is that Taiwan is not like Ukraine in the sense that in Ukraine we can ship weapons into the Ukrainians across the land border and keep them supplied. In Taiwan, if the Chinese do invade, which they are quite possibly ready to do in the second half of this decade, it's an island. We can't get weapons to the Taiwanese to support them. So we need to arm them before the Chinese do use force, and we need to arm them in such a way that we can deter China from taking that fateful step. And if that deterrence fails, then we can defend effectively.